Hi everyone, this is my first project update for my Kickstarter, The Road Chosen. It's an opportunity for me just to describe some of the new content and some of the new features that I've been working on for the game. Before we have a look at those though, I just want to say a big thank you to everyone for all their support for both my work and for this project. A massive thank you. So first up, we're going to talk a little bit about the counter work that I've done. One of the pieces of feedback that I've had on the Kickstarter is that some of the axis counters that you can see here, the sort of direction that the characters are facing is from left to right, so the infantry and the mortars, whereas the MG42 is from right to left. So what I've done is I've mirrored the artwork of the counter. So you can see here on the mortar, the artwork of the counter is now facing right to left. What this means is that if you're playing the game and you're playing the allies and you're going from left to right, you'll be, when you put the counters on the map, they'll be facing consistently. And I've done the same thing with the infantry as well. So you can see now they're all faced from right to left. So they're consistently facing the same direction. Now this will be what I'll do in the final Kickstarter. This will be an optional thing for players. So if you want to, you can print them out in this mirrored fashion, or if you want to print them out as the originals, you can print them either which way you want to do, and I'll provide both. So it's up to you as a player. It's probably worth pointing out that in some of the scenarios, if you may not be always playing left to right, so you may play right right to left. So, but anyway, people have asked for that, so I've sat there and kind of worked it out. Now you can see on the infantry counter, because of the nature of the artwork, I moved over some of the information over to the left-hand side of the counter. So just interested to see what people think to that. This is quite quick to iterate, to sort of make some quick changes, no problem at all. The next thing that I've done is I have worked up the British and Commonwealth counters that we'll have a look at in a second. But again, another piece of feedback I've had is backers are really interested in more scenarios and more campaigns. So what I have done here, this will be the cover art for a campaign and scenario book exclusive to the British and Commonwealth forces. So what I'll do is every major force in the game will have its own set of scenarios and campaigns, and this is the cover for the British and Commonwealth one. The cover features a British airborne piece of artwork, and it also features a new map in the background that I'll show in a second. But yeah, here's a new piece of cover art for that. And then here we have two new counters for that for those scenarios that feature the British and Commonwealth. So we've got a standard infantry counter and the airborne counter. So some scenarios will feature one or both, depending on the scenario that you want to choose. So yeah, I just thought I'd share sort of progress on just the regular counters for the game. Next, this is the second map for the game. On the Kickstarter, when I put the Kickstarter page together, I showed this in progress, and I've been sharing progress on this map on social media now. But over the weekend, I was able to finish this map up. It is the same size map as the other one that I show in the Kickstarter videos. I normally, just to sort of show you, this is the actual software that I use to draw and paint, and I'm probably normally drawing and painting at around something like that scale, around about 200% zoomed in, something like that. So you can see all the brush marks and brushwork that I do. As with all my art, it's all completely hand drawn. I literally, every single thing is drawn pretty much at this sort of scale. So and the difficulty here is that whenever I show the artwork in this manner, I always just want to go in and tweak and tune it and add some more detail and so forth. But just to give you some indication, so if it was because I work digitally, if this was a canvas, the canvas would probably be a good 1.5 meters, maybe a bit bigger, large in terms of its width. So for example, you can see here on the field every single brush mark, and as you can imagine, doing that for if we just zoom out a little bit, imagine doing that for a map of this sort of size is quite a volume of work. Probably, I mean, it's not possible to do it in one sitting. I think it's probably if I was crazy enough to try that, it'd probably take a week in one big long go and not sleep. This has taken multiple weeks to do this map. But yeah, just to illustrate the work that goes into it and how it's done. So I can use this software to create my color palette. Let me just show the color editor there. I can use my color palette there, and then I can use my brush, and I'm using a Wacom pen to do the brush work, and I can just move that palette around as I want to. It's takes quite a long time, as you can imagine. So yeah, that map's done now. What I need to do next to that is, using the layers that I have here, I can put all the sort of gameplay information on. I've got a rough idea of the different zones and the gameplay impact of all those zones. Because of the nature of the map, it's a lot more urban. There's a lot more buildings and roads and so forth. So that will give some interesting gameplay unique to this map, I would say. And again, I did it deliberately, so it starts off rural both sides, so that this map could be put next to the other map as well. So this is map number 2, the other map number 1. So there will be some scenarios that will feature map 1 and map 2, and then there'll be some scenarios featuring just map 2, as there are just map number 1. And finally, in addition to doing the counter work and the map, I was also able to finish up the piece of art that features on the gameplay counter, the unit counter for the Churchill tank. I'll call it a tank. And this is the sort of, this rounds out that the British Commonwealth scenarios. So there are tanks that are specific to those scenarios. There are units that are specific to those scenarios. Just sort of share this illustration of the tank again. Like the map, I'm probably drawing at around this sort of scale, just a little bit around, again around about the 200% mark. So you can see all the pencil work and brush work here again. It's all completely hand drawn by myself. As you can imagine, it's quite an extensive piece of work. I have been lucky enough to see 1 or 2 of these tanks in real life, and they're quite an awesome machine. So just thought I'd share that. So that's the illustration for the counter, so that those scenarios will feature, and it's pretty much a tank that's unique in the game, to in this game anyway, for the British and Commonwealth forces. So when you're playing those scenarios, this will feature exclusively this tank. The interesting thing from a historical point of view and the game's mechanics point of view, this tank can take quite a lot of damage. It's pretty tough old machine. This one was. It's not got those sort of tank busting capabilities of some of the tank destroyers in terms of its main gun, but they were well armored, I would say. Slower in real life than the Sherman, but had some pretty good armor. Just thought I'd share some of the work that I've been doing on the game, and what I will do I'm planning on doing one of these updates every week, so that you can see progress, and it's a good opportunity for me to share my work and talk a little bit about how it's done as well at the same time. So overall, I hope that was useful and interesting, and thanks for watching as ever.